Hi, my name's Anna, and today I'm going to tell you all about the architecture education system in the UK. What the degrees are like, how long they last, and more importantly, how to survive the process. Deep breath, let's do this. If you're just getting started with the lengthy process of becoming an architect, may the odds be ever in your favor. While I have a combination of positive and negative things to say about the architecture education system in the UK, I can say that there is a reasonable employment rate afterwards, so it can be worth it at the end. Because architecture is mostly computer-based, it does give you the ability to work from home should another pandemic happen, or if you just need a more flexible lifestyle, depending on where your employers allow you to work. If you're persistent and dedicated, it's going to make it a lot easier to get a job down the line. So stick to it, it's going to happen, just believe in yourself. I'll be doing a separate video about the side effects of being an architecture student and how to deal with them. But in this one, we're just going to talk about the general education, some tips I have, and some of my experiences. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves. Before you can even start your architecture education, you need to get accepted into university. If you know you want to study architecture early on, then you can organize your classes in sixth form and high school to reflect what you'll need for an architecture degree. This can help with the application process when you're applying to university and give you a lot more experience before you get started. Having classes in math, physics, art, and graphics, among many others, will be helpful towards your architecture degree if you're applying for one. It does depend on the type of degree that you apply for, whether it's a BA, which is going to be a lot more art-based, or a BSc, which will involve some more mathematics. So, up to you. And in the UK, if you're still undecided about what you want to do, but have a general idea, then you can do a foundation course and learn about a bunch of different subjects, and then that might help you decide what you want to do before actually entering your bachelor's degree at all. But if you do know that you want to do an architecture degree and become an architect, you can go on the RABA validated schools in the UK and check which schools are RABA accredited for Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 courses. I will include the link to that website down below in the description. While you're looking at which university is going to be the best fit for you and you're reviewing the course curriculum, why not go on some open days? You can get a chance to talk to some of the staff, see the campus, check out the studio space, the workshop, and a bunch of other areas that might be really useful in helping you decide if that school is the right one for you. When talking to staff and other students, you can ask what they did to get into the university and what they needed for their portfolio at the very beginning. Generally, they're going to want to see a range of work from sketch, potentially model making, graphic design, and creativity, but they're looking for potential and enthusiasm. So if you can show that in your portfolio and in the interview if you get to one, then that's going to be really helpful. Another thing you can do if you're going to open days and talking to students is you can ask them about the quality of the teachers there, because what I've learned from my many years of education is that if the teacher is amazing, even if it's not a subject you're interested in, it can make it fascinating and totally worthwhile. Whereas if the teacher isn't so great, even if it's a subject you desperately want to learn, it can make it so much more challenging. So talk to the students during the open day and see what the caliber of teacher is and see if it's a great place to study. Go on the university's website and see what they require, send off your application, and see if you get called in for an interview. As you can probably tell from my accent, I'm from America, but I've been living in the UK for more than 13 years, and I did all of my architecture education here. And the difference between applying for universities in America and England is in England they have what is called a conditional offer or an unconditional offer, whereas in the US you apply in your junior year of high school, from what I can remember, a long time ago, and then you get an unconditional offer to be accepted into that college or university. So what happened to me was I was given a conditional offer when I was doing the International Baccalaureate in Cambridge, and I almost didn't meet it. And I told myself if I wasn't going to get accepted because I didn't meet the conditional offer, that I would go away, use that year to gain as much experience as I could and build my portfolio as much as possible, and then apply again the next year. And I'm not new to failure now, but when I was only 17, I had no idea how difficult the road ahead would be. So just know that it's possible, whatever you want to do. You just might need to set your expectations that it might not work the first time, or the second time, or the third time, but hopefully the third time. So just be strong, you got this. This process of having a conditional offer added a lot of stress to my life, but in some ways I think that helped prepare me for the stressful aspects of the architecture education system, so it's kind of a good thing. You know, bittersweet, pros and cons. Just try and use any experience you have as a learning experience, whether it's good or bad. Use it to fuel and inspire the tasks ahead. So I've studied in a couple different countries, and wherever you're going to be doing your university degree, if you're going to be doing it abroad, it might be completely different than what you're used to, and I can tell you that when I moved to England, I really struggled with the different type of education system. From all of the American movies that I watched growing up and what I expected university to be like, to actually just working constantly, doing all-nighters all the time, it was a little bit of a letdown, but it definitely taught me to have a really good work ethic and appreciate goal setting and accomplishing tasks. In the first year of your bachelor's degree in England, it's mostly going to be hand-based model making and sketching, and you're just going to be getting started with layout design and really testing creative ideas. And if you want to learn more about model making, I have made a separate video about how to make architecture models, so you can check it out here. Just know when you're applying to university, they're going to recommend you buy all of these different supplies. And what I would suggest is that you see if you can get them secondhand on Facebook Marketplace, or just talk to people at the university and see if any of the students from the year above are giving away any of their materials after they graduate. So look into that instead of buying anything new. It's a lot more sustainable, and it's likely to save you a decent amount of money. I'm not gonna lie, from all of the hand-based work that we did in my first year of my bachelor's degree, which was 10 years ago, my sketching has gotten a little bit rusty, and even now as a qualified architect, I think there's still so many skills that I could brush up on and so many things I can still learn. So if you're training to be an architect, know that the training never stops and you're only getting started in a lifelong adventure of learning. So kind of enjoy that and get ready, because it never ends, in a good way. Also, I went into university with almost zero computer skills, so if you've already done Photoshop and Sims, you will be miles ahead of where I started. And I felt like I struggled from the very beginning, and I was trying to catch up with all of the other students. So if you can do a foundation year and gain some of those skills ahead of time, it might save you a lot of stress. But if you think you're ready for it and you want to start your degree, then go for it. Who am I to stop you? If you have time the summer before you start your course, you can test out a few different softwares. I'm about to recommend a couple that I think would be a great place to begin. And for your employability down the line, it will really depend on the practice that you work at for the software that you'll use. So there'll be a lot of softwares that are very similar to each other, but you might need to know one that's a little bit different for a practice that you're working at. So if you know a little bit of all of them, it will hopefully make you a lot more employable. I'd say if you can check out a few of the Adobe softwares using Creative Cloud on the student account, and the best time of year to get that is Black Friday, Cyber Monday timeframe. It's discounted around that time. It'd be my recommendation to test out at least Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign so that you can do some graphic design work, photo editing, and layout templates, which is great for presentations, which you will need to do many of in your bachelor's degree. You can also use Google SketchUp, AutoCAD, ArchiCAD, and MicroStation for testing out different design work and just getting used to the softwares. If you want to take it up another notch, you can test out Revit and Rhino. Revit is a very complex software that you can do so many things with, and in the different BIM levels, Revit can be useful for multidisciplinary cross-company platforms and producing schedules and a lot of output on a much faster basis. There's also Grasshopper and Dynamo for more script-based parametric design, and also render plugins like Enscape and Lumion if you want to test out your rendering skills. But when you're in university, you should likely have software training classes, so don't feel too bad if you don't know any of those and you don't have time to test out any of this software beforehand. It's your time to experiment in university, so you'll get a lot of time to practice. And most of that practice will be fast-paced while you're producing work, so just be ready for that, and it's okay to learn on your feet and be watching YouTube videos and everything you need in the process to learn the different skills. I still do that every day. If I don't know how to do something on a software, I will just Google it, YouTube it, watch a quick tutorial, and then move back on. It's just the way it is. no one knows everything. And if you so happen to be the one who is a software whiz kid, why not take the time to help some of your other classmates who might be struggling? You can help them in this area, and then who knows what you might need help with down the line, and they'll be a lot more willing to support you. The other students around you are not your competition. Even if the university and your tutors make it feel that way, you guys are there as a big community of lifelong friends, and you should lean on each other when you need to and help each other if you can. As a qualified architect, I would say that in the profession, it's a lot more of a team sport, whereas in university, it's more of a solo activity. There are so many things that architecture education does not prepare you for when you're in the workplace, but I'm not here to criticize, I'm just here to give you a general overview and hope that after watching this, you'll go into the experience with your eyes a little bit more wide open. Design is subjective, which is one of the things that can make an architecture course so challenging. There isn't one right answer, and you never really know if you're hitting the target in the right place. The semester breakdowns and term breakdowns will vary from university to university. If you check the course curriculum, it will generally give you a better idea of what the 3 years for your bachelor's degree will be like. An exciting thing about an architecture education is the traveling. In most cases, your university will have international projects and site visits to different cities, well, depending on where you live, all over Europe. And it's really exciting to go see all the historic buildings and modern architecture as well. International site visits can be really interesting, and you can produce a lot of imaginative work. And even in industry, technically all projects are imagined until there's an actual budget and contract signed. If while you're doing your degree, you can also gain some other experience, either doing creative competitions or design work outside of your course, doing weekend, half-term, winter, spring, summer, or fall. That could be a great way to boost your CV and be prepared for your part 1 experience after your bachelor's degree. I did fail my final project of my second year of my bachelor's degree, and then I failed the resubmission. At the same time, I had gotten an internship at Foster & Partners in London, and I was so honored and so excited to work there, but the stress of failure and having to resubmit several times was really difficult for me and my mental health. You might have heard that architecture education has one of the highest rates of mental illness, and I personally can attest to that. After my failure, I felt like I was never going to be good enough, and I could barely design. I couldn't even put a pen to paper. I just was so frozen in the fear that I would fail again and be officially kicked out of the school forever, and then either have to start from scratch or just give up. So I was petrified of failure, and so I just couldn't try. I couldn't go forward. I couldn't do anything. So I started going to therapy, which the university provided for free, and eventually, very slowly, I started to get my confidence back. And after repeating a year, I did finally graduate my bachelor's degree after 4 years instead of 3. During this process, I developed a lot of really unhealthy habits, pulling extreme all-nighters, and having a lot of really terrible side effects, which I will talk about in my side effects of being an architecture student video. So yes, you apply to your degree, you do an RABA Part 1 bachelor's degree, and that's 3 years. You do 1 year out, and then you do a 2-year master's degree, another year, and your Part 3 course. I learned a lot in my year out. You don't necessarily have to do it as specifically in architecture practice. You can do it at an engineering, construction, or similar field that can count towards your work experience as long as you record it with your PEDRs. And I would say if you do want to work abroad, I'd recommend doing it during your year out experience rather than your post Part 2 work experience, because that will need to be based more in the UK so you can learn about building regulations and planning laws in England. In your year out, try and have a good relationship with your office mentor and see if you can network with people and get advice on the next few steps of the architectural education process. Because of the difficulties in my bachelor's degree and graduating without excellent grades, it was very difficult for me to get into a master's degree. I only got accepted into 1 university out of 6. At least it made the decision easier, knew where I was going. Having worked in practice for 18 months, I was a little nervous about going back into the architectural education system and what that might do to my mental health, and if I might revert to some of the unhealthy patterns that I'd had before. Even though I struggled at the beginning, I got to learn so much in my master's degree and really test out a bunch of different subject matter and design work, from landscape to residential to coastal-based design, and I found it all very fascinating and excellent to work with like-minded individuals. I never really excelled as a student in England from when I moved here back in 2007 to the end of my master's degree. There were areas that I did excellent in, and even some that I was the best in the year group, but there was others where I was down at the very bottom and struggled every day. And that's okay. We all have our strengths and our weaknesses, and it's fine to know where you need to improve and also where your strong points are and to show them when you can. I'm not going to say there were no mental breakdowns during my master's degree. I enjoyed it a lot more than my bachelor's degree though. After my bachelor's degree, I did some top-notch networking and got an excellent job at a practice in London, where I'm working now from home. And then shortly after starting work there, I decided to push through and start my Part 3 course in London as well. Shortly after, the pandemic started. I had to do my exams and interview from home, which was an unexpected experience, but very interesting. There were so many people in my degrees that were so much smarter than me, more talented than me, and if they showed you their work right now, you would be wowed. And I'm really glad that I got to spend time with all of them. I wish I had appreciated the long hours in studio working together with these amazing people, rather than just focusing on the negative. And thinking back on it, you can remember things however you choose to, and I'm going to choose to remember my degrees in a positive way, even though there was so much negativity, sadness, and struggle. But I'm going to focus on the good and try and use that to fuel more positivity in the future. I didn't create this channel to show you that I'm the best. I created this channel to show you that you can do whatever you want as long as you put your mind to it and believe in yourself. I'm here to motivate and encourage you and hopefully add some valuable information here and there. And like I said, even though I wasn't great with a lot of the graded elements in my education system in England, there were other areas that I excelled in, and I do try and focus on those and make sure I nourish my great aspects and also the ones that constantly need improvement. Know your strengths and weaknesses, and just like designing a building, you're either going to want to utilize parts of the site or mitigate any of those difficulties, like flood risks or strong winds, etc. And utilize opportunities like natural lighting and views. Try and improve on your weaknesses, but also find out what your strengths are and let them shine, just like you. So you might ask me if I could do it all over again, knowing what I know now and knowing what I had to go through. Would I? No. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kind of in the mindset that I can't change the past. I can't change the things that I've been through. I can only change how I deal with them and how I move forward and use them to my advantage in the future. That's all I can really do. So would I change it? I mean, I can't anyway. So this is my life, this is what I have, and I'm going to use it and do the best that I can. I am by no means a shining example of how to become an architect. For me, it was really hard. But I learned how to be resilient and grow through every struggle that I faced. Failure is only temporary, unless you give up. And if you are thinking about giving up, and you're already partway through your degree and it's really hard and you're going through a lot of the same things I did, ask yourself, would you regret giving up? Would you regret it in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Would you think back and wonder to yourself, what if I had just pushed through a little bit harder? What if I'd just gone on another few months or a year or however long? What if I did that? I'm not the kind of person who wants to be asking myself what if in the future. So only you will know what's best for you. And I'm not an advocate for giving up. I am an advocate for mental health and knowing what is good and what is best for your future. So if you know that it's the point where you need to stop, then stop. It's okay. It's gonna be fine. But if you think that you might wonder what could have been, then I'd say keep going. Because if you don't give up and you still have that drive to do it, you will, okay? The grass is always greener on the other side, and choosing another path may not be any easier or any more fun, but I mean, you never know until you try, so it's up to you. Know yourself and know what will make you happy in the short term and the long term. Keep calm and carry on, and if you do make it to your graduation days for your bachelor's degree or master's degree, why not create a fun graduation cap with one of your architecture models? Ooh, that's so fun. Ooh, look at this, master's degree. Yeah, school colors. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty triggered trying to film this video, and I procrastinated for days trying to finish this script and just never did. So thought I would just wing it, but I hope that some of it helped you in some way. And as always, if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more content. Be kind to each other, be kind to yourself, and have a great day. Architect Anna out!